In today's episode of the podcast, I am reminding you to work with your energy levels. Now, this comes as we think about how to develop your bounce back. And if you're listening to this and you have experienced some kind of setback recently, maybe you've been working really hard, sharing something that's really important to you with the world, or maybe it's some personal thing. I just want to remind you and take just a few moments this morning to remind you two things. Thing number one is to be kind to yourself. As entrepreneurs, as people who are, doing business in the world, even if you've got a team around you, the buck stops with you. And that's wonderful and empowering and delightful, but it also can be quite scary and draining. And we do tend to put an awful lot of pressure on ourselves. So thing number one is I want to remind you just to be kind to yourself, because you're doing brilliantly. And every day that you show up and you put yourself out there and you share your message with the world, that's amazing and wonderful. And I do not want you to discredit that. And, we do that too often. We just check things off our list and then rush on to the next thing. So no, I want to remind you to pause and to celebrate and to give yourself that pat on the back. And the other piece of this then, and the main focus of this episode, is to remind you to work with your energy levels. Now, I am somebody who is quite high energy. If you've been following along, you may have seen all last week I went live on my Facebook page, for example. That's not something I normally do. Even for an extrovert like me, that was a little bit outside of my comfort zone. But I have the advantage that I am an extrovert. I don't find it draining to talk to people. And so I don't have the same sort of energy drain from showing up on social media that I know some of my introvert friends do. But I still have energy levels, high and low and ebbs. And you can guarantee that after 3 days, and this actually did happen, I had 3 days of very highly focused, big lists, doing these things, showing up, sharing a message. On Thursday, I purposely dialed it back a bit. I still went live on my page because that was part of the plan, but I also recorded lots of podcast episodes, just me and my lovely shiny silver microphone talking to you, which is an advantage for you, of course. But I did purposely plan a much gentler end to the week because I knew that by Thursday, there was a higher than average chance I'd be feeling quite tired. And the same is true for you. Your energy levels and the patterns and your ebbs and flows will be different to mine, of course. And this is important, your ebbs and flows and your energy levels will be different to the people around you. So I don't want you to fall into the trap of comparing you and how you show up to other entrepreneurs that you might have in your socials, in your social circles or in groups that you're in. We're actually going to touch on this tomorrow, this idea of being the sum of the 5 people that we spend most time with. So I would encourage you to tune in tomorrow. We're going to dig into that more. But that comparisonitis piece, it's deadly. And if you start finding yourself spiraling downwards into that comparisonitis, please throw in you a lifeline right now. Grab it, come back, because you, as I've already said, you are doing brilliantly. And however you're showing up, I firmly believe you are where you are and where you need to be right now. That said, I also then want you to start paying attention to your energy levels. What are the things that light you up? What are the ways that you move through the world that energize you? How can you bring more of that into the way that you show up in your business? Whether that be the way you show up with clients, or whether that be the way that you show up with your marketing, whatever. It's really, really important that you work with your energy levels in all the different aspects of the work that you do. And being kind to yourself is important as an important part of that as well. So none of us, I'm not the most extroverted person on the planet. I am quite extroverted, but there are people, I've met them. There are people who are more extroverted than me. But even the most extroverted people on the planet need to have times where they refresh, where they dial it back a little bit, where they rest. They don't always like doing it. And in my experience, the more extroverted people are, the more they need to be reminded that they need to rest. So if that's you, take this as your reminder, because I understand where you're coming from. You've got all these ideas and you're so excited and you want to do all of the things, and you will burn out. Even if you're in really high energy, you will burn out. And you might be thinking, like, there's famous, I'm using inverted commas, I know you can't see them, internet famous examples like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's go, 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 go all the time. Even people like him. Now, my instinct is he is pretty extroverted. He puts himself out there a lot. But he also is quite open about the fact that he does enjoy spending time with family, and he enjoys, his sport. And I suspect that those are the things that he uses to re-energize himself. And so that time away with family allows him then to be this person that we see front of house all the time. So everybody, regardless of how they move through the world, everybody needs to do that within the realms of their own energy levels. And of course, this isn't like a static thing. You will have seasons in a year even, and that's the reason why we have seasons. They're wonderful. But there will be times when, you are more highly focused and putting yourself out there more. And there'd be times when you dial it back a bit. So we've got Easter coming up in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm purposely planning ahead so I can get podcast episodes, for example, batch recorded. So then over the Easter holidays, while my children are home, I don't need to be recording these, and yet can still share stuff with you consistently. So it is about recognizing those seasons as well. If you're a really long time listener, you'll know that I took all of the Christmas holidays off. Didn't do any work at all. Content still went out there, still shared it, was still on social media a little bit, in terms of wishing people a happy Christmas. But I really dialed it back and had a wonderful Christmas. Probably one of my favorite Christmases ever since I've been self-employed. So all of this as well is seasonal. And so that's the other piece of that to pay attention to. Start seeing patterns. When do you enjoy showing up? Are there times in your calendar when you want to dial it back a little bit? And if possible, plan for that. And of course, I should remind you, if you need help planning with the planning aspect of it, if you haven't listened to yesterday's episode, I would encourage you to go back and listen to it, because we did talk about how you can use open loops to help your brain help you plan. That is episode 119. I'm just looking at my notes. So to listen to that, if you go to faithandbusinessplayground.com/FAB119, if you've missed that, that's probably the easiest way to help you listen to that one. But if you are somebody that knows you struggle with finding that balance, if you're somebody that, spirals downward and wants some help being lifted up, if you're somebody who is ready to get a little bit more support with this stuff, of course, as well, come along, book yourself a time for the two of us to talk. We can dig into where you are right now, where you'd like to be, and get you a plan in place to get there. So to do that, one more link for you. To book a time for the two of us to have a chat, go to faithandbusinessplayground.com/talk. Now, at the time this episode goes live, you're going to see that there's nothing on my calendar for a couple of weeks because the Easter holidays are coming up. I have blocked that time off. But book some time after Easter and we can chat about it, and get you moving forward from there. But in the meantime, as ever, thank you for listening. If you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. And if you enjoy these episodes, I would encourage you and ask you if you could do me a favor, leave a review. That helps other people to find this as well. One of my goals now in the next quarter of 2019 is to grow the podcast listenership. I think that's the correct word. to share this with more people. And so leaving a review would be much appreciated, because it does help other people find it. In the meantime, like I say, thank you for listening. Wishing you a delightful day. I shall be back in your ears tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.